files handlings in C++, which will be our last topic in this course. For this one, we have 3 activities that we can cover by today. And for file handling, it is very important topic that you can use inside your final projects to make sure that you store your data in permanent storage. Because right now, when we run our C++ program, after you finish and close the program, all your output will be gone. You cannot see anymore. But if you need to store those details that you entered during your computing or anything, you can store these details inside some storage like files. If we can take a little introduction about file handling in C++, we can see that from this source, for example. So far, we have been taking the IOStream library, which you know it is a standard input-output library that we can use cin and cout to read and to write something from the console itself. So if we need to handle the files in C++, there is one library that we must include. It is the Fstream library. From that library, we have 3 different classes. We have output file stream, which is OFStream. We have input file stream, and we have the Fstream. For the output file stream, it is a library that we can use to write something into a file. Input file stream, it is the opposite. It is the class or the library that we use to read something from one file. Fstream, it combines both OFStream and input file stream. We have a function that is called open, which will receive the file name and also the open mode. We have 2 different parameters. And for this one, we have studied functions in our last class. We say that any function has a return data type, from which we can say here, in the case of open, it is void, which means that the open function will not return anything. The second thing we need to understand is the name of the file. When you open a file, whether it is for reading mode or to output mode, you must give it the file name. Usually we give it as a text. We'll see it in the example after a while. And then you must give it the default opening mode. For opening modes of file, we have different flags that we can identify. The first one, you must write iOS, then double colon, then you write app, which is a shortcut for the word append. For append mode, we mean I will open the file and I can append anything at the end of this file. So I will open this file. For example, if it is for write mode, then I can append some details at the end of the file. Then we have another mode, which is ATE, which is also at the end of the file. It will open the file for output, and it will move the read and write control to the end of that file. Usually, for example, if I say that I have a file and it contains these details I highlighted here or I selected here. When I open the file at ATE, it will open this cursor to the end of this file. So it will be after this dot. The next one or the next mode is iOS N. If I open a file for read mode, the default is N. With N, I mean I will open the file for reading mode. If I open the file for read, that means I can only read from that file. I cannot write. The second one, it is the opposite. It is the out. In the out mode, I open the file for writing. Usually, this is the default for output file stream. And this is the default for input file stream. And the last one is truncate. For trunc, it will check if the file already exists. It will overwrite its current content, or it will truncate its content from the file. We have also the last step that I need to do is the close of the file. So let's see how can we do that in examples. As you can see here, we have created one simple example to write something into the console, into our screen. Now, what I need to include to make this example read or write from a file. First of all, I must include the library for Fstream. So I will write here #include Fstream. Without this library, I will not be able to work with files. And as we say, the Fstream, it will contain the input file stream and also the output file stream. Now, what can I do to write something into a file? I need to create one object. So that object should be from OF stream. This is a class that is used for output purpose or writing purpose. From that one, I can create one object that can be any file or any name. For example, I can call it file, I can call it X, it is just a name. For me, I prefer to call it fout. Why fout? If you see this one, it is cout, which indicates that I can use it to console output, to write something to the console. So for me, I prefer the name file output. It is just a name, as I said, but I prefer to use fout. That means this object, I can use it to write something into a file. After creating that object, I will say fout.open. Then I give it my file name that I need to write into. For example, if I say myfile.txt, I must write the file name and also the extension of that file. .txt, it will indicate that this is just a text file. And after creating the file, as you can see, right now we have only our code, the main.cpp. This is the C++ code. After creating the code, or after running the code, it will create myfile.txt. So far, I didn't write anything inside this file. I just write one line of code, fout.open, and then I give it my file name. What happens now? In the case of file output, in the case if I want to write something into a non-exist file, it will be automatically created for me. So if I say file2 and then I run, I don't have this file, so it will automatically be created for me. If I want to delete, of course, I can just click here and delete. Now, after creating this file, I can now start writing inside this file. How to write inside a file? Use the same operator or the same variable you use, and then write whatever you need. I can say this is my file content. This is just a message that I will write inside my file. And after that, if you just run the code again, you will see that you have the content inside your file. Whatever you give in the previous code, whatever I write here, it will be, for example, hello world, this is file, and then run. Now, as you can see, we have our content inside the created file. And one minor step that you need to do is the close. This is not mandatory, it is optional, but it is always preferred to close the file after opening. Without this file, in the previous versions of C++, there was no storage management. So you have to manually close your file, otherwise this file will be kept open. So what are the steps that we need? First, you need to create your variable or your object for file handling. Then you need to open the file, preferred mode, in which mode you need to open the file. And then you need to read or write inside the file. And the last step is to close the file. These are the main steps that you need to follow every time you work with file. Now, some technical details that you need to understand. The first one, I say that if the file doesn't exist, like the file tt, this is a new file that doesn't exist. Once I click run, a new file with tt will be created for me. This one we understand. The second step is the opening mode. As you can see now, when we talk about the opening modes, I say that iOS out is the default for writing. So whether I write here, comma, iOS out, it is the same. Whether I write it or not, this is the default opening mode for output file stream. It will give me exactly the same thing. As you can see, every time I run my code inside the file tt, my content will be written here. But right now, as you can also following, my content, they get truncated every time. If I use the same variable and I write hi. Now, I can also make at the end of this one end line. So I will have this message in one line. In the second line, I will have hi. This is the content. Now, how can I prevent my previous content inside this file? If I just come here and say append, this is the second opening mode that I can use, the append mode. In this case, my file will be opened in the writing mode and also in the append mode, which means my previous content will not be hidden. As you can see, this is my output from the first run, and this is my output from the second run. If I just need to enhance it a little bit, I will add end line here, and then I can delete the content. Now, if I run the code for the first time, I will get 2 lines. Now, run it for the second time, you will get 2 lines. So every time you run, now the content will be append. I run the code now 4 times, so I will have 1, 2, 3, 4. My content are not truncated because I use ABB mode, the append mode. So this is the difference between append and out. As we say, the out, it will remove the previous content or override the previous content. So if I change this one to, for example, 3x and here YYY, see what will happen to the file. My previous content, they got truncated. So this is the case of output. Is it clear? Do you have any questions in this introduction about the output file stream? Any question at all so far?
No.
Okay then. Now, what will happen if I change this one into input file stream? The same example, but instead of output file stream, I will just change it to fin. As I say, this is just a name. So what is the meaning of input file stream? I will open my previous file, for which mode it is for input mode. For N, as I say, it is the default one for opening the file in read mode. So I created one variable from input file stream. I call it fin. Why fin? It is similar to cn. Instead of cn, I call it fin. So it indicates that it is the variable that I will use for file read. So I created my variable and I must give it the file that I need to read from. Inside this file, we have XXX and we have XY. So I open the file in input mode, and then you can use your fin to read something. When I use, if you remember the cn, if I need to read something, it is like this. If I have, for example, string x, then when I use cn, you must give it in this direction. It is the insertion operator, as you say. We have extraction operator, this one, and we have insertion operator. So it is in that direction. In the same case, if you need to read something from the file, it should be in that direction. So you read from the file input into your variable x. So this is how you make the read. And then after that, you can print that fin. Because right now, what I did, I created one object or one variable from input file stream. I open this one, should be the same name, fin.open. And then I created one variable string to read something from the file inside the variable x. Then fin into x. After that, I can use cout to print. If I need to print that content inside my console here, so I can see what is the content of x, I can just write, and this one should be fin because we changed the name. As you can see, we have this one, 3x. From where I got this 3x, the previous one we know, I have hello world. I can remove the hello world. So when I run my code now, you will see that we have XXX. So I read the content from the file into the variable x. Then after that, I printed that content. I can repeat this process multiple times because in my file I have this 3x, then I have y, y, y. So I can repeat my reading twice if I copy this code twice. So let's see the output. You will have the 3x, then you will have the 3y. So now you can handle how many lines you can read and what to read. If I go inside this file and write, for example, triple Z, then now I have 3 lines. Then you can repeat the process again 3 times. You can also organize what you need to print. After this one, I can make end line. And now I can just repeat it like this. So every time I will read one line and then I print that line inside my console. So this is how you can handle both input file stream and the file stream. Now you will see that this code is repeated because I write it 3 times. How do I know that I have only a single line or 2 lines, 3 lines, 100,000? There should be something that is suitable for the entire file. We have taken repetitions, so I can use repetitions for this one. I can say while I have content inside my file. For this one, I can use one function called getLine. So getLine from the fin inside my variable x, and then cout that x. So this, let's see. As you can see, what I did now, I created one string. Then instead of using the normal cn, we have one function called getLine. I believe some of you have used this function in assignments. It is just a function that we can use to read an entire line from the console or also from the file. If you write here cn, then you can use this function from your console to read an entire line. For example, if someone is Ahmad and Ali, his name is Ahmad Ali. If you use the normal cn, it will read Ahmad only because the space to indicate that you have another variable. But if you use getLine, it will read the entire line Ahmad Ali as one value. So getLine, I can use it with fin, my file input variable, and then the content will be inserted inside the variable x. That means it will read line by line and then print that content inside the console. First run, it will read the triple x, then triple y, then triple z. Now, if I go here and add more content, hello, this is, for example, I have now 6 lines. If I go to the code and run, it will give me the content from my file. So this is our introduction about how to use the read and write from files. And let me just repeat. You have 2 classes, input file stream and you have output file stream. We use the input file stream to read something from the file. We use the output file stream to write something inside or to a file. In both cases, you have a function called open. That function must be used with the operator of the file, and you must give it at least one parameter. The first one is the file name, and the second one, it is optional, in which you specify the open mode. In the case of input file stream, the default one is input, is to read the content. In the case of output file stream, the default one is out. And we know the difference between out and append. And after that, you can do whatever you need from the file, whether to read or to write. And the last step is to close your file. Okay, now, so far, so good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after we take 20 minutes in this introduction, let's see our first activity. Today we have 3 activities. The first one, it is your usual C++ program without any file handling. Second and third activities, they are using the read and write to the file. So let us see activity 1 or activity A. For this one, we need to write a C++ program for UTP gas station. Okay. Whenever a customer wants to fill up his vehicle gas tank, he will be asked for the gas amount to fill in ringgit. So I will ask the user how much you need to pay for the gas amount. The user will enter the gas amount. Then I will ask the user to whether or not he needs some assistant from the pub attendant. If the user choose code one, that means he needs assistant. And in this case, if the gas purchase is below 50 ringgit, then I will add 50 cent in his bill. Otherwise, if his bill is more than 50 ringgit, then the assistant is free. No extra charge will be given to him. This is for the code assistant. And then I will ask the customer about the payment type. If he choose cash, which is code 0, or if he choose the payment card, which is code 1. If the user choose to pay by card, then I will add 5% service charge in the total bill. This is my two options. So the program will first ask about the amount, then whether or not the customer need assistant. If the customer need assistant and his bill is below 50 ringgit, I will add 50 cent charge. If his bill is more than 50 ringgit, then no extra charge will be added to him. And then I will ask him about his payment method. If he choose cash, then there is no additional charge. If he choose card, then we will add 5% extra charge. Now, for this one, we have the code. It is very simple. I will just recap it because we have taken so many examples like this one, and we will focus on activity B and C. For activity A, if you see at the beginning, I include the IO stream and IO manip. We say that this one for input-output stream and the second one for input-output manipulator. At the beginning, I declared some variables, the variables that I will use inside my program, like the amount, how much the customer will pay for the gas amount, the total amount that he needs to pay, assistant and payment, both of them are code, integer data type, and then count, it is the number of customers, how many customers we have in the gas station. At the beginning, I will display a message, UTP gas station, and then the answer, I will use it to continue or not. If the user wants to continue, he will say yes. Otherwise, the program will be terminated. Now, for this one, I use the toUpper function to convert the user input to uppercase. So whether the user inserted Y small or Y capital, it will always be converted to capital. Then it will continue as long as it doesn't equal to N capital. Then I created a total is equal to 0, assign a 0 to the total. I printed the number of customers, so it will be customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, etc. Then cout and cin, I ask the customer about the purchase amount, in ringgit, cin the amount. Then I ask the customer about the assistant, whether or not he need assistant, 0 for no, 1 for yes. And then I ask the customer about the payment, 0 for cash, 1 for card. Then I cin the payment. After getting the amount, the assistant, and the payment, I make my conditions according to the questions we have. If the user requested assistant and his amount is below 50 ringgit, then there will be 50 cent additional charge, right? Otherwise, there is no additional charge, so I will have the total equal to the amount. About the second condition, it is about payment. If the user choose card payment, then I will add 5% extra charge. For this one, I will just compare the payment. If it is equal to 1, that means it is card payment. In the case of card, then the total will equal to the previous total multiplied by 5% from the total itself. We can simplify this one if you need. It is total plus, so I can say plus equal, total plus equal, then I can multiply by this amount. After I finish, now I have the amount, I have the assistant, the payment, and the total. I can then show the total that will be given to the customer. To enhance our output, we use some functions from IO-manip, the function that we study in our last class. We have set precision 2, which will give me my output into two places, and then I printed the total. After that, I ask the customer whether or not he needs to continue. If he chooses yes, I see an answer, my program will continue, because we say for any iteration I must have three parts or three elements. The first one is initialization. This is my initial value. And the second one is my condition. This is my condition. As long as the user doesn't inserted n capital or n small, he will continue. And this is my update, my third element. I must insert a new answer. Otherwise, my loop will not be terminated. So let's see if I run this code, I will get this one. The first one here, this is the introduction. Then I printed the customer number. Right now, counter, we started from 0. So when I say plus plus counter, that means it will print 1. That's why we get customer 1. Then I will ask about the purchase amount. If I say, for example, 60, then the program will ask me about assistant. Do I need assistant? If I choose yes, number 1, then it will ask me about the payment. If I choose card, then I will get my total. Why I get 63? Because I use assistant. In the case of assistant and my bill is over 50, then there is no additional charge. So we didn't add this 50%. But I have 5% added to the 60, which is 3 ringgit. So the total will be 63. Now, as you can see, I got this message at the end of the while loop. Do you want to continue? New customer, yes, no. If I choose no, my program will be terminated. But if I choose Y capital or Y small, we say that we have the function to upper here at the beginning. That function will convert the Y small to Y capital. So my program will continue with customer 2. Now, if I say I have my bill 40 and I need assistant, that means my bill is below 50, so I will get 50% added. I will choose cash, so there is no additional charge. So my total is 40 ringgit 50 cent. This 50 cent is added because I choose assistant. If I say yes, and for customer 3, I choose also 40. I don't need any assistant, 0, so there is no additional 50. And I choose card, that means I will add 2 ringgit 5%. Now, after customer 3, if I say no, I don't want to continue anymore, so my program will be terminated. Now, I give this example as activity 3 because in activity 2 and 3, we will try to write these details inside the file and also to read from the file. So far, so good. You are following with me?
Yes, sir. So far, so good.
Okay, good. Does anybody has any question at all? You must ask some questions because without asking, you will not learn anything. Any question at all. If you have any doubt in any step I explain, just let me know, then I will repeat that for you. If you cannot talk, then you can write in the chat. I will read the chat. Okay. In activity A, we have taken one example. Without using any file, we know how to calculate these details, how to get the gas amount, the assistant, and the payment. And now for activity B, we need to add, modify, or delete the necessary code in activity A in order to make the file write these details inside a file. So I need to create one file called activity.p.txt. This will be my file name. Inside this file, I need to write the amount, the assistant code, and the payment as given here. So first of all, the first value will be for the amount, 50 ringgit. This one, it is the assistant code, 1 or 0. And this one, it is the payment type, 0 for cash, 1 for card. Same, this is second customer, third customer, fourth customer, etc. So how can I create a file in C++ activity B, and how can I write these details inside the file in the same order I do here? If we look at our example, activity A, what exactly I need to change in order to write these details inside the file? Because so far, we know that the code will be running in a smooth way. I will have all these details, but they are inside the console output. Once I close or I rerun the code, all these details will be truncated. I will not be able to look at them for the next step. So the first thing I need to hash include the Fstream. Hash include Fstream. This is a library that we say it is for file handling. Then I need to create one variable to write to a file. For write purpose, I say that we can use OF stream, output file stream. As I said, I can create any variable name, XY file, but I prefer to call it fout. After that, fout.open, and then I give it my file name. Inside the instructions, the file name must be activity b.text. And for the open mode, I can say it is output mode, or you can choose append. If I choose the default one without writing anything, as we saw in the introduction, my details will be truncated every time. So what is the best thing to use here is the iOS append. So every time I open or run my code, I will not lose my content. So after that, I open the file in the write mode, in the append mode. Now, all I need to do after I finish step 1 and step 2 is to write the content. Where can I write the content? I can do it anywhere inside the loop. For example, here at the end, I can say fout. Then how to write? I need to write the amount. What is my variable for that? It is EMT. Then it should be separated because as you see in the example, it should be exactly like this one. The amount, then one space, then it is the assistant, then space, then the payment. So I must give it in the same way. Consider that you are displaying something into screen, but in this time you are using fout instead of cout. This is how simple it can be. So what is assistant? It is this variable. I will print it into the file. Then I will add one space. After that, I will print the payment type. After the payment type, I need to give end line so that each customer will have one separate line for its output. And what is the last step now? After opening the file, choose the open mode, writing into the file. I need to close the file. After I finish, file.close. And that's it. This will be our activity number B. So let me repeat. What is the first step I create is to include the Fstream library. Without Fstream, you cannot use file input or file output. The next step, you need to create one variable, either from ifstream or output file stream. In our case, we are requested to write something inside the file. So I will use open file stream. I call it fout. Then I use that variable fout to open, to read, to write and to close. To open, this is my file name. It is append mode so that I will not lose my content every time I run the code again and again. After opening the file, I can use it, the same fout, to write my content. Inside the instructions, we are supposed to write the amount separated by space, then assistant, space, then payment, then end line. After I finish, this is my loop, the while loop. After I finish this loop, I can close the file. So if everything is correct, we will get our output. Okay. Now, so far I didn't go inside this code. So let us run it for 100. Then I will say I don't need assistant. I will use the card. Then I don't want to continue. No. So as you see, we have run the code for only one customer. We get the payment 100, then 0, then 1. So this is how you get your content inside the file. If I just go inside the file and do some enhancement, I will copy these techniques here exactly as they are and use it with if out, so that I will get my value for amount as fixed and set precision. And I will delete this one manually so that next time it will not be there. So let's run the code. I will say 100, 0, 1, and no. Okay, as you can see now we have fixed and set precision too. So this is my first customer. Now, if I run the code for second time, let's say that customer 2 will pay 50, assistant and payment by card. So he will have that additional 5% extra charge. I need to continue, so I will say yes. Third customer, if we say 60, he will no assistant needed and he will pay cash. Okay, now if I say no, if I go to the file, I will find new details written there without losing my previous content. Why? Because I use the append mode. I use the append mode. If it is out, then every time I run my code, my previous content will be deleted. And this is not the correct way to use files. We are using files so that I can save my content for future use. So during your project evaluations or project progress now, you can use file simply in very few steps. They are not complicated. Just include the library, open the file, write in the file, and close. In simple 4 lines, you can finish with file writing. Now, I need you to open the code for activity B. You have the link in the slides, and just go through the code. If you have any questions, then please ask me or leave it in the chat. Take 5 minutes to practice. Now, after finishing activity B, in which we write some details inside the file, these details, as we say, are the amount, the assistant, and the payment. In activity C, we need to make a little modifications in our code to make the program read data from one input file, which is our previous activity B, and then write these details back into activity C. So what exactly I will do? I have from activity B, from the previous activity, I have created one file that has some details like what you see in the screen now. These details, as we say, the payment, the assistant, and the the amount, the assistant, and the payment. Now, I need to read from activity B file and write into activity C. What exactly I will read and write? I will read the amount, then I will write that amount here. I will read the assistant, which is 1, and write it in the second line here. And then I will read the payment and then write it in the line here for each customer. So from the first one, the first customer 100, I will write his details in this location. Then I can simply create one empty lines. Then I will start from customer 2. In customer 2, you have 5011. This is 5011. And then I will display the total charge. Then activity or customer number 3, which has 4010. We have this will, okay, 7000. This is 7000 for customer 3. Then you know the idea. We have 4010, which is from customer 4, 4010. So what basically I'm doing, I'm reading from one file and writing into another file. So in our last activity, you will get the whole concept on how to handle file read and file write. Now, this is our code from previous activity, activity B. What I need to change exactly to make this program read and write, because right now our activity, we have one file to write. This will be for write handling. In that one, we have only one line here which write the content into activity B. We have these details. Right now I have 3 customers. Okay, so how can I change this code to make it read from activity B and then create another file, activity C, and write into it? So the first step, I need to check the Fstream. I already have it from our previous code. Then same content. Right now I need to create one file handling from input file stream. File stream. So let's call it fin, as we say. So I have now, I have fin and I have fout. For the file input fin, I will open our previous activity, this one. So now I will read from this file. I will read from this file activity B. So the open mode, whether I write it or not, it will be the iOS N, because we say this is the default one. Whether I write it or not, it will be the default one. So here I have read handling, the file to read from. Now, after opening the file in read, and after opening another file for write, the write will be activity C. So I will create another file, activity C, in which I will write my content. Instead of append, I will keep it out. Why out? Because my content from activity B can't change. So I need every time to start as a fresh file and write the content again, because I'm counting customer 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So whatever is there from activity B, they will be written inside activity C. Now, as you see from our screen here, I have the first sentence, which is writing this sentence inside the activity C. What is the sentence? UTB gas station. So instead of displaying this one inside the console, because in our previous activity, we used to have this sentence here in the console. But how can I change it to write inside the file? All I need to do is to use fout instead of cout. That's why I told you can use the same name. So if I say fout, that means this sentence will be printed inside the file. It is no longer in the console. If you need both console and file, you can simply copy the same line and keep it cout and fout. So this sentence will display the content in the screen, and this sentence will write inside your file. So far I don't need this one. I will just keep the fout. Now, how can I make my code read from this file, starting from this line, then finish, go to second line, read, finish, third line, also read and finish, until it reaches the end of the file? Instead of this loop, I will not need to ask the user how to stop, so I will not need the answer. I will not need this line. So I deleted all my content from previous activity, that is manual read, whether to ask the user to continue or not. We have something called from the file input stream, from fin, end of file. And then we have this condition. What is the meaning of this line? It is simply I say to the compiler, as long as I didn't reach end of file. What is EOF? It is end of file. So this one, as long as I didn't or I don't reach end of file. Let me capitalize. As long as I didn't reach end of file, because I have fin.end of file. This is a function. And then I make the inverse. This one, exclamation mark, it is the inverse condition. So as long as I didn't reach the end of the file, I will read that line and continue to the next one, next one. When I reach here, it is the end of the file. So my loop will be terminated after 3 customers. Now, total will be the same. Now, I need to write these details, as I say, inside the console. inside the file. So instead of cout, I will just say fout. So right now I will print the customer number inside my file. Then before I write the amount, I need to read this amount from the activity B. So I will say fin, which as I say similar to cn. I will read from the second file inside my variable amount. So I added this line. What does it do? As you see, we have here cn amount. That statement will be before. Before here, I will say fin into the amount. So from activity B, I will read until I reach space. So it will read the amount. Next one, it will read the assistant. So you understand the idea now. After this one, I will print it inside the file. So I'll use fout. What I will write, purchase amount, then I need to print how much is the amount. So AMT, then end line. So I will read from one file, I will write to the other file. After that, I need to read the assistant. So I'll copy this one and change it to fin. Now I read the assistant. After that, I will write this assistant. Assist, then end line. After that, I will read the amount in the same order, fin, then I will write it here. Payment should be small, same as the variable, then end line. Yes. Adri, if you are not listening, you can mute your mic. I don't know, he was listening or he was following the tutorials. Okay, let's continue. Now, after reading the amount, writing the amount, reading, writing, reading, writing, this one should be fout, fout. So the same conditions will be applying, same conditions. There is no change in this one. And the last one, I need to write the total charge. How much is the total? So it is same fout. So I will print the same total. And finally, this fout to make one empty line. And now I have fout close. Same thing, I need to make fin close to close the both file. So now let's run the code. We have 3 customers, 1, 2, 3, inside activity B. If the code is right, then I will get activity C. Okay. Automatically, this file is created, activity C, in which we have the introduction, UTB gas station, customer 1, customer 2, customer 3. But we have something here that we need to correct. We have customer 1, purchase amount, assistant is correct, payment, total charge. So this line, I will see where we are getting double writing is here. This line is not needed because we will not need to print these details. So now I will delete this one if needed, then run. Okay. Now, if you see our first customer, 100.01. This is 100.01. And the total, we calculate it and display. Second customer, we have 50.11. So 50 is the amount, assistant 1, payment 1. This is the total, display. Third customer, 60.00. He paid 60. No assistant, 0 is the cash payment. So total 60. Now, if I manually added some more details like 90 assistant and card payment, and another one 80 0 assistant 1. Now I have 5 customers. If I run the code again, you will see that in our file we have the 5 customers, the 90 and the 80. So this is how you can read from one file and write into the other file. Now, of course, you will have some mistakes if you guys If I input something here as incorrect data, for example, if I say I have incorrect data like this one, of course I will get some mistakes in our code. So when you read and write the file, you must follow the same syntax as given in the question. Since I'm reading from one file, writing to other file, I must follow a systematic way to do that. Now, I will give you like 5 minutes to recap this activity C. Okay. To recap and conclude our session today, we have learned how to use file in C++. We understand that we have three classes: output file stream, input file stream, and Fstream. We know how to use the open function to give it the file name and then the open mode. For the open mode, we say we have the append, which will be used to append some content inside the file without losing our previous content. And we understand that if we open the file, the input file stream, the default one is iOS-N. And if we open a file in output file stream, the default one is out, which is for file writing, and then trunk. For these details, we have taken three activities. The first one was a very simple one, just how to understand this program. And then we converted this program into writing these details into activity B in the same order we have seen here. And then how to create two files, one to read and one to write. All details from activity B will be given into activity C as some details to write. For this week, I will give you one assignment about files. So that means you have two assignments. Yesterday, I created assignment 3, which has one question. And inshallah, today or tomorrow, I will give you assignment 4, which will be based on files. Hopefully that you can solve before next Thursday, because we need to release the marks for the lab. And I need you, if possible, to use file handlings inside your final project. Because as you see, the code that we learned today was not that complicated. Hopefully it was an easy way to read and write inside files. You can just implement these files in this way. And one last thing I forgot, you will find sometimes if you open the file in the output mode and we say the file doesn't exist, that file will be created. So if I say file C2, this file doesn't exist here. When I run the code, the file will be created automatically, as I said, because in write mode, if the file doesn't exist, the file will be automatically created. But in the case of read mode, I cannot read something that doesn't exist. So if I say, for example, B2, activity B2 doesn't exist. So if I try to read something that is not there, usually I will get something like this, or sometimes you will get an error, which means the file doesn't exist. So how can you check? You can just add one simple line for the fin. If that one doesn't exist, then you can show a message for the file read. Because in the case of output file stream, that is normal. For the output, there is no error if the file doesn't exist. But for the fin, if the file doesn't exist, you will get an error. So how can you solve this one? You can simply check that content if you have. I will stop the file. Okay. If fin, then return 1. And before that, you need to show a message, cout file doesn't exist, for example, end line. And here we need to add this one. Let me see if it is correct. Yeah, something like this. What does this code that I added here? And remember, this one we need to add only for the file input file stream, because in the case of read, you cannot read something that doesn't exist. If the file exists, B, activity B is there, so I will not have that error. My program will be executed in the correct way. But in the case that the file is not there, this file doesn't exist, so I can add this condition. If n is not there, then show a message and return 1. Return 1, that means my code will not be terminated in the correct way. So as you can see here, if I run the code, I will get code 1, which means the program is terminated by me. And also I will get a message file doesn't exist. That one was my last hint for you. Hopefully you understand something new today. If you don't have any further question, then you are free to leave the meeting. And I will see you inshallah next week for the project evaluation. Have a good night and see you then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.